Well, hello there, friend. It is Amy Plano of Team Reimbursement Dietitian. And this is a topic I feel like should have done a video on a whole long time ago, but I think now is the perfect time because we're seeing lots of issues with credentialing companies. So one of the most common questions I receive is, should I hire a company to do the credentialing and billing for me? Okay, so I think people think, and I get why they think this, but they think that because I run a coaching program for dietitians and CNSs, that I am anti hiring a credentialing and billing company. That couldn't be further from the truth. And the reality is, if I knew of amazing companies who were credentialing and billing and knew what the heck they were doing, I would be the first one to recommend them to you. And as somebody who, in the past, at the very beginning of my career, used a billing and credentialing company, I can tell you sincerely from the bottom of my heart that it turned into a big, giant shitstorm. I hired two companies and both were total disasters. And what I mean by total disasters is that because I didn't know what I didn't know, there was so much money that I was not receiving and basically leaving on the table, right? So if we don't know what we're doing and we hire a company to do it for us, we don't know what we don't know. So I personally have hired two separate companies and I had not an awesome experience. But that is one of the main reasons why I started the Reimbursement Dietitian, which is a program that teaches dietitians and CNSs how to get credentialed, build the shit out of insurance, and make the money they deserve. But in full transparency, like I said, I don't not recommend companies because I don't think it's a good idea. I just don't know a lot of ones that are above board to recommend. So, like I said, I've used my fair share, and none of them get even a B approval. So I just want to be fully transparent because I think people think because I do what I do, I'm anti these companies. Like I said, my husband wanted me a long time ago to start one of these companies, and I want nothing to do with them for lots of different reasons. But I want to give you guys some of my insight into why I don't think hiring a billing and credentialing company is generally the best fit for you and your practice. So let's talk about how they work. So there's different types of companies out there. Some companies you'll pay a flat fee and they'll do the credentialing for you. Some of them you will pay a flat fee to credential and then a certain percentage of your what we call accounts receivable. So the money that you bring into your practice, and that percentage will range anywhere from 4 to 15%. You may pay the same company a flat fee to do verification of benefits for your practice, so on and so forth. So that would be a full service billing and credentialing company. And generally speaking, depending upon the volume of your practice, it can get really expensive. Some of these other companies that we've started to see emerge in 2023 and 2024 are companies that do the billing and credentialing for you, and then they pay you a flat fee based on the service you provide. So they do all of the things for you and they claim they give you all of the money, but we know they're for-profit industry, so that can't be the case. But they essentially are doing all the billing and credentialing for you, and the only way for you to bill is through them. When a company credentials you, okay, or you hire a billing company and they credential you, they're credentialing you as an individual in your own practice under your EIN. So all of the money flows to you. When you go and you hire or work with a company, say like Faye or Berry Street, who else am I missing? Faye, Berry Street, not Nurse, because that's a different style. Faye, Berry Street, Zaya. Those companies, you are 150% attached to them as a business. Yes, they do all of the things for you, or they promise to do all of those things for you, but you are not credentialed on your own. If you pay a company to do it, they credential you on your own through your own business. When you work like for a company like Berry Street, Zaya, or Faye, you are tied to them. You cannot, under any circumstances, bill on your own. Okay, so those are the two different types of companies that exist on the market today. Okay, and so why I say, especially with the credentialing part, dietitians are really good at following directions. And while it can be overwhelming, I think the main thing that is overwhelming with the credentialing process is that it takes so long that you start to question yourself and you question whether or not what you did was correct. 95% of the time, you followed the directions, you did all the things, and you're just waiting. For example, Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina takes about 6 months. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Connecticut or any of the Anthem products can take 6 to 9 months, right? So there's these periods of uncertainty. And I think that's what stresses a lot of dietitians out. And they think they've done something wrong, but the reality is they've done nothing wrong. They're just waiting. Okay. So that's why I think it's very overwhelming. One of the things I've tried to do my bestest for you guys is to get you started with the process. So if you go to reimbursementdietitian.com and you opt into the opt-in on the first homepage, it's going to give you a video series on the first 5 steps to getting started, right? So I want to at least get you started and going in the right direction because that part is not hard at all. I know it feels hard, but it's really not that hard. So don't let that piece stress you out. You have certainly been through much worse things, much more challenging situations. So it is not that bad. And I think people make it out to be worse than it seems. So you're essentially paying somebody money to do something that all you need to do is follow directions. The second piece, which I want to be very clear, is that if you are in a market that does not credential dietitians, so if you're in Florida or you're in Michigan, or you're in a state like Iowa where your product only credentials you out of network, these credentialing and contracting companies have no more power than you do. If there is a network in your city or zip code that is closed, they don't have any more power than you do. Obviously, in my coaching program, I teach you guys how to appeal all of those things and get into closed networks, but that is all on you and the work that you put in. So if you're a dietitian who's in Florida and you're like, oh, I'm going to hire these companies. Another thing about these companies, I'm not going to call them all out individually, but some of them are not above board. So there's certain insurance contracts that say the provider needs to be located in that particular state. So if you are working with a company that's credentialing you and then billing for you, you want to just make sure that you have done your homework on that company because some of these companies are operating in states and putting you in states that you should not be on certain products. So certain insurance contracts say the provider needs to be located in X state at the time the service is provided. Want to be very clear, and I don't want to fearmonger. There's only a handful of these contracts that have that stipulation, but one of the main credentialing companies is putting you in a state in that product where it says that. Okay, so just be mindful that you will come into these situations as independent contractors, and that means you work for yourself. And when you work for yourself, it also means that you need to do your due diligence before you go into these situations so you know what is at hand. With that being said, a lot of times we hire these companies because we don't know what we're doing in these situations. And I totally get it because that was the situation when I started my practice and I hired somebody to do the billing. I did not know my arm from my asshole. So I was like a flamingo. I stuck my head in the sand and I pretended I didn't know anything. And that worked in the short term, but then it blew up when none of my claims were getting paid. The service that I was using was not communicating with me. And I literally lost my shit. And it was not a good scenario. And that not happened just once, that happened twice. So just be careful that you're doing your due diligence on these companies. I'm not here to cast stones or throw them out, but you are working for yourself as an independent contractor and nobody is watching out for you. So if they have you seeing patients in a licensure state, you are responsible for knowing how to navigate that. Once again, being an independent contractor is very different than working for somebody as an employee. If you are an employee and they're putting you in those situations, then that is on them. But when you are an independent contractor, the scenario is entirely different. So okay, so I'm totally going on tangent. So the other thing is what I see, and I can speak from my experience. I've been running my coaching program since 2019, which is bananas. And I work with hundreds of dietitians each year in every single state, is that it's really important that you know that you're probably going to get busy really, really quickly. And so I would say on average, dietitians who are in my coaching programs go full time within 8 to 12 months, if that is their goal. Some people, that's not their goal, and that's okay. But say that is your goal. Insurance will really fill your book quicker. You definitely still need to market, and that's a whole other video. But with that being said, once you get busy, guess what? Then you need to credential the new dietitian that you may be hiring in your practice. And if you're using a credentialing company, you're going to have to pay them the same fees all over again when it is something that you probably could have done on your own in the first place. So a lot of times dietitians get busy very quickly and they're bursting at the seams and they need to hire because they didn't know how to do the credentialing by themselves. Then they then need to go and hire somebody to do it again and pay for them to do it. So a lot of times you're spending money before you're making money on that particular hire. So so I think I covered the basics. And like I said, I just want to be very clear because I understand I run a coaching company that teaches you how to bill insurance, make money, and do all of this on your own. There is a time and a place in your business, and I probably would be helpful if I tell you where it was in my place, where I hired somebody as an employee and then I trained them to do all of these. And so as you guys know, I've been running a group practice since 2009. So hiring is totally my jam. With that being said, I did not hire somebody and I only have them part-time until I had at least 4 dietitians billing with me. So we were basically a team of 5. Credentialing, all of those things, yes, they take time, but they are not time consuming. You put in the time once. The same thing with billing. It literally will take you like less than 10 seconds to submit an insurance claim. And if you do it right the first time, guess what? You don't have to fix it. So I want to be like fully clear that even in my practice, I did not hire an assistant who I trained in my practice as an employee to help me with the billing and the credentialing until I had 5 people on my team. Most dietitians are hired when they have 0 people on their team, and there's a lot of money going out. Once again, most dietitians are pretty intelligent mofos, okay? You guys know what you need to do. You just need to do it, right? So a lot of times, like I said, it's the start that really stops dietitians from getting moving in the right direction when it comes to accepting insurance. But I have no doubt that you can use my free resources and at least get yourself going. So if you are new to this and you're saying, hey, PS AIM, thanks for so much for giving me a heads up. I do want to try to do it on my own. Just go do my opt-in. It's a free video series. I don't even think I harass you after that. I just want to get as many dietitians going in the right direction. I think you'll see it is not as bad as it thinks. Navigating billing and all of those things down the road can be super helpful to hire a mentor or a coach because we can save you time, which saves you money. But in the beginning, giving away your hard-earned cash and essentially working for somebody else who you are tied to as an appendage, right? So if you're working for a company who credentials you under their business, you cannot bill on your own. You then have to go do it on your own, and it's going to take the same amount of time. So, like I said, I've been totally like not regretting. I've been putting this video off because I don't want it to seem off-putting, but I always want to be fully transparent with how these companies work. And I can fully jump in on this conversation because it wasn't that long ago, a decade plus ago, that I did have a billing team and they fucking sucked. Okay. So you don't know what you don't know. It's the same thing when you hire somebody to do SEO on your website or you hire somebody to do something else in your business. If you don't know at least the basics, then when shit is going wrong, you will never know if you're getting all of the money or if they're fooling, kind of giving you a bag of shit. So I'm going to shut up now. As always, I'm not going to answer specific questions about the specific credentialing companies because I don't think that's fair to them because I haven't worked with them. But as always, if you guys have questions on hiring a company to do this for you, please drop your comments or questions below this video. And I'm always happy to help with this step if possible. Once again, I know it feels easy to put our heads in the sand, and not ask any questions about this process. But for most dietitians, when they go down that road of hiring somebody to do it for them, they end up leaving that and they lose time that they could be building their empire. So hopefully this helps. I'm going to shut up now. This is a long video, and thanks for listening.